So they're really only working that Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe half of Thursday, Monday night. So they only really work 3 days a week, or at least that's how it's been in the past. Thune says he wants to change that, and if he wants to confirm Donald Trump's cabinet and pass his agenda, he's going to need senators in Washington, D.C.
Welcome to the Debrief, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by commentary editor Conn Carroll. Conn, incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune has released a schedule. He's not really going to waste any time, is he?
No, it's a very ambitious schedule. See, a lot of people don't realize just how easy the Senate has it, or at least they have in the past. Normally, senators get in on a Monday evening. They have what's called a bed check vote, in which it's just a procedural thing where they see who's in town, who's not. That's Monday night, okay? So then they do work Tuesday. They have each party has their own lunch. That's where senators kind of touch base, and it's actually where a lot of the real debate goes on. They have another lunch on Wednesday. And then usually votes are over by about noon, 1 o'clock on Thursday, and then it's a race to the airport.
Right.
So they're really only working that Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe half of Thursday, Monday night. So they only really work 3 days a week, or at least that's how it's been in the past. Thune says he wants to change that, and if he wants to confirm Donald Trump's cabinet and pass his agenda, he's going to need senators in Washington, D.C. 5 days a week.
So you mentioned confirming Trump's cabinet.
Yes.
President-elect Trump has rolled out a bunch of nominees, and you've written about how there's a certain commonality among some of the big names that we've seen floated so far.
Yeah, you know, I've seen other people try to look at who Trump has appointed or not appointed yet, because he is not present, the supposed nominees. And a lot of people, I think, spin their wheels trying to find some ideological construct or consistency between them, but you really can't. But I think there is a better way to analyze them, and that is they all have a similar skill set that they bring to the job, which is as a communicator. I think the best example of this is Linda McMahon. This is a successful businesswoman who has a strong background, took a small regional entertainment company and made it global.
Right.
But along the way, you know, not only did she manage to be on the business side, she became a character in that little drama of WWE where she was a villain.
Right.
And guess who else inserted himself into the drama of WWE, also being a villain in that same kind of narrative, was Trump. And so here you have a woman who does have a little bit of the education experience, not a lot, but her main skill set is going to be going out there and communicating on Fox News, on social media, everywhere else, and that really is where her comparative advantage is. And you have other nominees that are the same. You look at someone like Pete Hegseth, Defense Department. This is a guy who was on Fox News for years, has, I think, close to 1 million followers on X.
Right.
You know, this is a guy who can command his own audience to come and interact, to put pressure on senators, to really drive and set a narrative in a way that another nominee might not have been able to. And then we've got, you know, Sean Duffy at Transportation. This is a guy who existed thanks to reality television. Right? He was on not just, you know, Real World, but Real World versus Road Rules and Real World All Stars. So the man's used to having a camera around him at all times, and he also has a rather strong social media following. So I think you start to look at these people, and they have different views of the world, but they all have a similar skill set that Trump is going to look to exploit.
And people say, oh, this is a reality TV cabinet or a Fox News cabinet, or Trump confuses television with reality. But messaging and communication are pretty important parts of politics, no?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you already see this again within the nomination fight. I mean, you had Senator Joni Ernst, who talked to Pete Hegseth once, was not very supportive of her comments coming out of that meeting. It looked like she was going to oppose him. Graham and other people also voiced concern. There's even a flag raise of DeSantis as a possibility.
Right.
But then Hegseth really turned it around and marshaled his online following to support him. He got some key help from J.D. Vance and the Trump team. But now Ernst is waving the white flag. And not only has she had a second meeting with Hegseth, where she said she most likely would support him, but she is behind the scenes, you know, saying call off the dogs.
Right.
So, you know, this is an area where it's already showing that the Trump's cabinet picks, their ability to go and fight in the trenches in the communication zone, in the communication area, is already paying dividends.
So finally, you've written recently about a publicly acceptable form of religious bigotry. What might that be?
Well, I mean, unfortunately that it is, but So the BYU basketball team was recently playing in Providence, Rhode Island against the Providence Friars, and a F the Mormons, I think you can fill that in.
Yes. Some asterisks
Shouting,
there.
chanting came from the student section. And you did have the athletic director of Providence come forward and apologize and say this does not reflect what our institution does. But no one covered this story. This was a local story, not even so much in Providence, only really in Salt Lake. Whereas, imagine if it was, you had a Muslim player on a basketball team where, let's say at TCU, they were shouting F the Muslim. That would have gotten national coverage. You have another example that actually happened in BYU where it was a Duke volleyball player, female volleyball player, that claimed that someone was shouting racial epithets at her. Now, the BYU apologized at first, but then they did an extensive interview looking at all the security cameras, and they found no evidence for her claims, and none of her teammates backed her up. But that was a national story that ran on ESPN 24/7 for like a week. So the disparity in coverage, I think, is really something to notice. And I have a number of LDS friends. They're wonderful people, and I do really feel as though it is unfortunate that people feel enabled, feel empowered to denigrate them.
Yeah, some bigotries are just more acceptable than others.
Unfortunately.
Thank you, Conn. You can read Conn and the rest of our commentary team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.